Good evening, and welcome to the virtual public information meeting for state project number 57122, which is the replacement of bridge number 7036, carrying Route 138 over an unnamed brook in Griswold, Connecticut. My name is Brianna Rataco, and I am the project engineer with the Connecticut Department of Transportation for this project. We hope that everyone in attendance finds the presentation informative and that we'll be able to address and answer any questions or concerns you may have. So before we get started with the main presentation, I want to walk through the goal and format for tonight's meeting. First, I will be explaining the different ways you can interact with the project team during the meeting. Next, I will introduce the project team, including the department leadership and our consultant liaison and design teams. Then we will have the technical portion of the presentation, which will include the condition of the existing structure, the purpose and need for the project, and the recommended design solution, which has progressed to a 30% design level. We also will be explaining the anticipated project impacts. Then we will have a live question and answer session. There are 3 ways that you will be able to communicate with us during the live question and answer session. Questions can be submitted via email, call and leave a voicemail, or if you're joining us on Microsoft Teams, you can use the chat box at the right side of the window. The project email, voicemail, and chat box will be screened by the project team during the question and answer session. All questions will be posted in the chat window, and all questions and answers will be read out loud. Questions may be asked at any time during the presentation, and they will be answered at the end during the question and answer session. The primary means by which to communicate with the project team will be via email at dotproject57-122@ct.gov as it is currently shown on the slide. You can also call 860-944-1111 and leave a voicemail. As I said previously, the chat box can be used if you are joining us through the Microsoft Teams application. We will explain how to use the chat function in more detail on the next slide. The Microsoft Teams chat function will only be available during tonight's live question and answer session. There is also a project webpage where a recording of tonight's presentation, including the questions and answers, will be made available. The webpage will also include information that was explained on how to leave questions and comments for the project team. That website is https://portal.ct.gov/DOT Griswold 57-122 as it is currently shown on the slide. The question and comment period by email or phone will be open through February 15th, 2022. Therefore, questions or comments that are thought of after tonight's meeting may be submitted until February 15th, 2022 via email or voicemail. I'd like to now introduce the project team. First, from the Connecticut Department of Transportation, we have Bart Sweeney, the Division Chief of Bridges, Lou Baccio, the Principal Engineer, Derek Lassard, the Project Manager, and myself, Brianna Rataco, the Project Engineer. Additionally, Clow Harbor and Associates, or CHA, is working on the project as the department's consultant liaison engineers. From CHA, we have Donald Wurst, Project Manager, and Tom Sawtell, Project Engineer. Mott McDonald is the consultant design engineer for this project. Ildiko Juhas is the project manager and structures lead, and Robert Gomez, who works for VN Engineers as a subconsultant to Mott McDonald, is the highway lead. We would greatly appreciate if you would complete the public survey after tonight's meeting that has been established for this project. Virtual public information meetings are relatively new for the department, and so the results of the survey will assist us in using this format in the future. There is also a civil rights flyer available. Links to both the public survey and the civil rights flyer are available on the project website mentioned earlier. Lastly, I would like to state that as part of the Title VI civil rights, no person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. Before we get into the technical portion of the presentation, I wanted to provide some definitions of the major elements on bridges and culverts and an explanation of the numerical condition rating system assigned to the major elements. The type of structure that is being proposed for this project is a precast concrete box culvert. A culvert is basically a tunnel carrying a watercourse under a roadway. A culvert is provided under roads and highways for a crossing of water, as a roadway embankment cannot be allowed to obstruct the water flow. The diagram on the slide shows an inlet or outlet elevation view of a typical box culvert. The ends of the box culvert are usually supported by head walls and wing walls to help retain the surrounding embankment fill. Concrete cutoff walls are also provided under the end box section and wing walls to prevent water from undermining the culvert. The invert refers to the lowest point on the inner edge of the culvert and is located at both ends of the culvert. All state bridges and town bridges over 20 feet in length are inspected every 2 years by the department's Bridge Safety and Evaluation Unit. The major bridge elements are assigned a condition rating on a scale of 1 to 9, with 9 being excellent condition and 1 being imminent failure condition. Typically, when a major bridge element reaches a 4 or poor condition, a project is initiated to address the deficiencies. Now that I've provided these culvert definitions and condition rating information, I would like to introduce Ildiko from Mott McDonald, who will be giving the technical portion of the presentation.
Good evening. This state project is for replacing bridge number 07036 on Voluntary Road or Route 138 in Griswold. The bridge is actually a metal pipe culvert carrying an unnamed brook under the road. This is a bird's eye view of the site. The red circle shows the location of the bridge. The brook is shown in blue. It flows from north to south. Route 138 is a 2-lane road. It carries 1 lane in both the eastbound and westbound directions. The bridge site is located a 1/4 mile west of the intersection of 138 and 201, and it is about a 1/4 mile east of the Griswold Public Works Garage. There is a recently constructed solar farm located northeast of the bridge site. This is a closer look at the existing site plan. The bridge was constructed in 1956, the same time Route 138 was built. The roadway is relatively flat in this location. The posted speed limit is 50 miles per hour. The average daily traffic is 7,500 vehicles per day, 5% of which is truck traffic. The existing roadway over the bridge consists of 2 12 feet wide travel lanes and 2 5 feet wide shoulders, as seen in the typical section on the lower right-hand portion of the slide. The bridge has a skew of approximately 25 degrees relative to the center line of Route 138. Here are some photos taken at the site. The upper left picture shows the inlet from the upstream side. You can see the head wall with the round opening and the wing walls on both sides. The upper right picture shows the outlet side. As you can see, it is overgrown with vegetation. The lower 2 photos show Route 138 looking westward, one view from the westbound lane and the other view from the eastbound lane. This slide shows the existing bridge in cross-section. This bridge consists of a round, asphalt-coated metal pipe measuring 6 feet in diameter that is approximately 74 feet long. As you saw on the previous photos, the pipe has reinforced concrete head walls and wing walls at both the inlet and the outlet ends. The structure is in poor condition. I will show you some of the details on the next slide. The photo to the left shows the typical condition of the pipe. It has significant deterioration at the bottom with visible material loss. The pipe is also deformed in some locations, resulting in reduced height. The picture on the right shows the north head wall. You can see several cracks at the top. There are cutoff walls under the pipe, and they are in poor condition as well. There is an undermined region under the pipe at this head wall. The table below the pictures summarizes the current condition of the culvert as recorded in the 2020 inspection report. So why do we need this project? As you just saw, the existing culvert is in poor condition. Sections of the existing pipe are deformed with reduced vertical height, the head walls are cracked and undermined at the pipe inwards, and the cutoff walls are in poor condition. So the bridge is considered to be structurally deficient. This slide shows the proposed improvements. The existing culvert will be replaced with a new precast concrete box culvert with a 9-foot wide span and an 8-foot high rise. The new culvert will be located about 35 feet west of the existing culvert. This will allow the water to flow through the existing pipe while the new culvert is built. Full replacement was selected over in situ rehabilitation options such as slip lining for several reasons. One, the slip lining options would create inundation impacts, and a new box culvert with a larger cross-section than the existing pipe will reduce these issues. Second, the site conditions here are favorable for a full replacement. There is only 5 foot of fill over the existing pipe, and there is adequate room in the state right-of-way to construct the access roads that are needed to perform the work at the inlet and outlet. And third, this will be a completely new structure with a 75-year design life. So the scope of work for this project is construct access roads at the northeast and southeast sides to provide access to the inlet and outlet. These roads are located within the state right-of-way line and will remain in place after construction. Install the new culvert approximately 35 feet west of the existing culvert, and install new head walls, wing walls, and cutoff walls at the inlet and outlet. Then realign the existing brook through the new structure, including minor grading and installation of natural stream bed material. And at last, abandon the existing culvert in place by filling the pipe with controlled low-strength material. Here is a longitudinal section view of the proposed box culvert. As I mentioned earlier, the culvert will be constructed from precast concrete boxes. The slope of the new culvert will be similar to the existing pipe slope. A 1 foot of natural stream bed material is proposed along the bottom. The proposed head walls and wing walls are shown in gray, and there will be cutoff walls at both ends that will minimize any potential for underseepage. Below is a transverse section of the boxes. They will look very similar to the construction photo at the lower right corner. To minimize traffic disruptions, the new culvert will be constructed in 3 stages. In stage 1, the westbound shoulder of Route 138 will be closed, and the travel lanes will be shifted to the north to provide room for construction on the south side. The temporary roadway will have 11-foot lanes and 1-foot shoulders. During this stage, there will be excavation on the south side and installation of the box sections behind the work zone and construction of the downstream head walls and wing walls. There will be maintenance and protection of traffic devices installed throughout the affected section of Route 138. During stage 2, the road will be closed for a short duration of time to provide room for excavation and installation of precast boxes under the middle of the road. A detour will be utilized during this stage. I will talk about it in more detail shortly. The roadway closure in this stage 2 will last approximately 1 week, and it will allow the contractor full access to the site so they can work 24/7 and use accelerated construction methods to speed up the work. And at last, in stage 3, the eastbound shoulder will be closed on Route 138, and the travel lanes will be shifted to the south to provide room for construction on the inlet side. Again, the temporary roadway will have 11-foot lanes and 1-foot shoulders. During this stage, they will excavate on the inlet side, will install the remaining box sections and the upstream head walls, wing walls, cutoff walls, and return walls. Now let's talk about the proposed detour. As I have mentioned earlier, there will be a few days during construction when the bridge will need to be closed and traffic will be detoured. The 17.5-mile detour uses all state routes, Route 164 and 165, and the short section of 201. Based on Google Maps, the detour takes about 24 minutes to drive. To avoid the sharp left turn from Route 165 eastbound onto Route 138 westbound for truck traffic, we propose to use the northbound lane of Route 201 in that direction. There will be plenty of signage posted in the surrounding area and along the detour, warning travelers that the bridge is closed. For example, the orange circles on this map highlight the proposed changeable message signs that will notify travelers of the detour and bridge closure. Utility and environmental impacts. The project's impact to utilities is minor. There is an existing 15-inch storm drain under Route 138 that will need to be extended under the South Access Road, and there is a set of overhead utility poles on the south side of the roadway that may need temporary relocation during excavation and installation of the box segments. The anticipated environmental impacts are tree clearing around the access roadways and the minimal temporary wetland and watercourse impacts during construction. And the following permits are in the works: U.S. Army Corps self-verification, Section 401 water quality certification, and the Inland Water Resources Construction General Permit from the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. This slide shows the state right-of-way line as well as the surrounding properties: 1240 Voluntary Road, 10 Latham Road, and 5 Chinigo Road. For the channel realignment work that is outside the state right-of-way, the project will need temporary easements. These temporary easements are within properties at 1240 Voluntary Road and 10 Latham Road. Also, an easement will be needed at the end of the 15-inch drainage pipe extension, which is within the 5 Chinigo Road property. The northeast and southeast access roads are located within the state right-of-way lines, but temporary easements will be needed during the construction. Next, Matt will explain the right-of-way acquisition process.
I am Matt Giannakopoulos, and I am a right-of-way coordinator with the Department's Division of Rights-of-Way. It is our office's responsibility to acquire the property rights needed for transportation projects. The proposed project design requires the acquisition of property rights, so I'd like to give a brief overview of the department's right-of-way acquisition process. Please keep in mind, though, that the specific impacts are still being fine-tuned and may change as the design progresses. Any property rights that will be acquired in accordance with Connecticut General Statutes Sections 13A-73 and 13A-98E. And whenever there is federal money used in any phase of a project, the department must adhere to the Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Properties Acquisition Policies Act of 1970 as amended. Once the design has moved to the point where we are ready to begin the acquisition process, each affected property owner will receive a formal letter of intent to acquire from our office, along with a property map which depicts the exact property rights to be acquired. At that point, our office will determine the fair market value of those property rights and use that value to establish an offer of just compensation. The offer will be sent out to the owner in writing, and a right-of-way agent will be available to meet with the property owners and explain the project, go over the specific impacts to the property, and explain how the state developed its offer. The property owner will have a reasonable time to consider the state's offer and enter into negotiations. If an agreement is reached, the state will prepare all the necessary paperwork and record the deed and the property map on the town land records. However, if negotiations reach an impasse, in order to keep everything on schedule, the department may acquire the necessary property rights through its power of eminent domain. In that event, the state files a notice of condemnation in the Superior Court along with a monetary deposit in the amount of the state's offer. The property owner will have 6 months from that date to appeal for a reassessment of the damages if they thought the state's offer was inadequate. Now, whether or not the owner chooses to use their right to appeal, the money that was deposited in the court is available to be withdrawn by the owner at any time, subject to the discretion of the Superior Court. I know sometimes people think when they hear eminent domain that it means the state just takes their property for $1, but that's not the case. You know, the owners are entitled to at least the amount of the state's offer, and the state only takes title to the property rights that are needed for the project. If there are any questions regarding the department's right-of-way acquisition process, I'd be happy to address them during the Q&A portion of tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Matt. So how long will this construction take and how much is it going to cost? We anticipate the construction will start in the spring of 2025 and it will end in the fall of the same year. The preliminary construction cost estimate is $2 million, and I wanted to note that this project is 100% state funded, so there will be no cost to the town. This concludes my presentation, and Brianna will take it from here.
Thank you, Ildiko. That concludes the technical portion of the presentation. I'd like to thank everyone on the design team and behind the scenes who helped put this virtual meeting together. We are going to leave the Q&A information on the screen for your benefit, and we will be answering any questions that came in during the presentation and answer any questions that will come in during this live Q&A session. Once again, we would like to remind everyone to visit the project webpage to participate in the survey pertaining to the live event, to ask additional questions or view project plans. For those listening on the phone, the website link is https://portal.ct.gov/DOT Griswold 57-122. So with that, we are going to start the live question and answer session. We will take as many questions as we can. Feel free to use the chat feature or call in by phone and leave a voicemail. That phone number is again 860-944-1111 or by email. The email address is dotproject57-122@ct.gov. As said previously, the comment period is open until February 15th, 2022. All right, so it looks like we got a question in the chat window, and it says, when is the project anticipated to start and how long will it take? Tom, did you want to take that one?
Absolutely. Thanks, Brianna. This is Thomas Sawtell from CHA. So the project's anticipated to begin in the spring of 2025 and commence in the fall of 2025. We're anticipating construction will take a total of approximately 5 to 6 months. And then, as previously mentioned, the intent of the full closure is to minimize impacts to the traveling public along Route 138. The full closure and detour of Route 138, as previously stated, will be for approximately 1 week during the summer months. And the reason why we want to go with the summer months is during the summer, this is going to alleviate any concerns that we have with impacts to the adjacent school systems and bus routes.
Thanks, Tom. All right, we got another question in the chat window, and that one says, when the road is closed, will my utilities be interrupted?
Thanks, Brianna. This is Don Worst from CHA. If we could bring up slide 23, please. So the project will have some impacts to the utilities, but during construction, the utilities will remain in service throughout. So your service will not be interrupted during construction. Because of the staging of the project, the current overhead utility wires that are on the south side of the road will need to be temporarily moved to the north side of the road to allow heavy equipment to build the downstream portion of the culvert. Once that is in place In the later stages of the project, the utilities will be moved back to a pole line along the south side of the road, which is where it currently is now. So during that whole process, the utility companies have a way to move wires around and transfer utilities to a different location, but the service will not be interrupted during any of those moves. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. All right, and as a reminder, if anybody has questions, you can enter them into the chat window if you're on Microsoft Teams. You can also email our project email address, which is dotproject57-122@ct.gov, or you can call 860-944-1111 and leave a voicemail. All right, we got a third question in the window, and it says, what is the timing of the full closure and detour period of Route 138?
Hi, Brianna. I can take this. This is
Okay,
Sawtell from CHA. So at this time, the project's anticipated for full closure of Route 138 during the summer months of the construction season. And again, the contractor is going to be allowed to close the road after the end of the previous school year. We're anticipating using liquidated damages to ensure the bridge will be completed prior to the beginning of the new school year in the fall of 2025. And again, it's approximately going to be a 6-month construction season total for this project.
Thanks, Tom. All right, we got another question, and it says, will the access roads be paved?
Hi, this is Ildiko Juhász. I can answer that one. So the access roads are gonna remain permanent, but they will not be paved. They will be covered with a 12-inch processed aggregate, and they will remain as constructed, about 10 feet wide.
Thanks, Ildiko. All right, and I also wanted to just remind everyone that the comment period for this project will be open through February 15th. So if you did think of a question after tonight's meeting, you could send the question to that project email address, or call that phone number and leave a voicemail to ask a question. And we just ask that if you are to call the voicemail and ask a question following tonight's meeting, that you just mention the project number, which is 57-122, so that the question can be routed to our project team. All right, another question came in, and it says, how dusty will the project be?
Hi, this is Don Worst again. Yes, as we all know, during construction, unpaved surfaces that are just dirt and soil, they can get kicked up dust, especially during dry times of the year. The access roads will not be paved, as we said before. But the contract will include an item to keep the access roads watered and other unpaved surface watered down. And the adding of water over the surface generally keeps the dust down. This is something that's done on all ConnDOT projects, and it will be implemented on this project as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. And I also just wanted to mention, and I mentioned it in the presentation earlier, but there is a project or post-meeting survey, and that is available on the project website. And that just helps, the DOT collect feedback on this virtual platform, since it still is relatively new. There is a drop down in that survey that you should be able to see the project number, but right now it looks like our project number is not listed yet. So there is an option where you can select not listed. So we ask that you select that option. All right, we got another question in the chat window, and that one says, will this project be coordinated with other town or state projects in the area during construction?
Hi, this is Bob Gomez from VN Engineers. Yes, this project will be coordinated with all other state and town projects, and every effort is made to minimize the traffic generated from it. And, and so it doesn't impact the traveling public. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. All right, and I did want to mention too, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, if you would like to access the project website and the project email and phone number to call and leave a voicemail, you can click on show more right under the video there, and all of that information is provided there as well. All right, another question came in and it says, what is the expected cost of the bridge?
Hi, this is Tom Sawtell from CHA. So as we previously stated, the estimated construction costs for this project right now is $2 million. Thank you on slide 32 there. The cost, of course, is subject to change as the project currently is only at a 30% design submission level. And then finally, just want to reiterate that this is a 100% state funded project and there's no costs attributed to the town of Griswold.
Thanks, Tom. All right, so again, if you would like to ask a question, you can either enter your questions into the chat window on Teams, if that's how you're watching with us today. You can also email the project email address, which is dotproject57-122@ct.gov, or call 860-944-1111 and leave a voicemail. All right, another question came in and it says, will the access roads be permanent?
So I'll take that one as well. So part of the access roads will be permanent and part of them will be removed. So those areas that affect the wetlands, they will be covered with timber matting and they will be removed at the end of construction. The rest of the access roads will remain. And as I mentioned earlier, they will have a aggregate base and the side slopes will be covered with topsoil and will be seeded to prevent erosion and invasive species from growing.
Thanks, Ildiko. All right, we got another question and it says, would any nearby private property be affected by this project or taken via eminent domain?
Hi, Brianna. I can take that. This is Matt Giannakopoulos. I'm with the Department's Division of Rights of Way. And I don't know if we can switch over to the slide that showed the impacts, but there will be some impact to the private properties during construction. We are proposing to acquire some temporary easements to regrade the stream channel because we're moving the bridge and to allow for the construction of the access roads. And we are looking at acquiring a permanent easement because we're reconstructing the drainage outfall to go beyond the access road. So those property rights, we would have to negotiate with the owners as I outlined in the process, but no properties will be taken in total by eminent domain, and it would only be easements that we would be looking to acquire, and most of them are just temporary. So all the owners will continue to own all the same property that they own today. We just need to acquire some easements to allow for the construction of this project and potentially future maintenance of the drainage outfall. But these would be minor areas and wouldn't impact any structures or buildings or anything like that. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. I also wanted to note that following tonight's meeting, a recording of the meeting will be posted to the project website. So if you guys know anyone who, couldn't make it tonight, or if you just want to rewatch the presentation, a link to that will be provided on the project website as shown on the screen, which is for those on the phone, I'll read it to you. So that's portal.ct.gov /DOT Griswold 57-122. And also with the comment period, so again, that is open through February 15th. So if you were to think of a question after tonight's meeting, you can email the project email address, which is dotproject57-122@ct.gov, or you can call 860-944-1111 and leave a voicemail to ask the question. And again, if you are going to leave a voicemail after tonight's meeting, just be sure to mention the project number, which is 57-122, or you can also mention that the project is in Griswold so that the question can be directed to our project team. All right, we have another question, and it says, is funding in place to complete this? Can federal infrastructure funds be used to save state tax dollars?
Hi, Brianna, it's Don Worst again from CHA. When this project was initiated, available funding sources were looked at and the type of project it is and what funding source it qualifies for at the time were assessed. At that time, it was decided to fund it with 100% state funding. That's how the project began, and that's where we are currently. As the project progresses through the design phase, the department will reassess it as time goes on to see if the project needs or the project scope has changed and if any other available funding sources are possible to be used on this, including possible federal money as part of the infrastructure bill that was just passed. So currently it's 100% state funded. The department will continue to assess that, and it is possible that the funding source may change to federal funds later in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Right, we have another question, and it says, will there be any environmental impacts / tree clearing concerning the new construction of the new bridge?
Hi, Brianna, I can take this one.
Thanks.
So as we mentioned earlier, there will have to be some minor tree clearing to construct the access roads, and also then at the inlet to construct the wing walls and the head walls. But overall, the environmental impacts are anticipated to be very minor on this project. I already mentioned that some of the area of the access roads will be covered by timber matting, and it will be removed after construction. And also, we talked about the construction sequence earlier. So as I mentioned earlier, during construction, while the new culvert is being built, the existing culvert will operate and the stream will flow through that during construction. And once the new culvert is complete, the channel will be realigned. And the realignment will require some minor grading on the stream to accommodate the new inlet and the outlet location. But at the end of construction, any area that was regraded within the wetlands will be covered with natural streambed material to restore the site to pre-construction conditions. Also wanted to mention that the project will be applying for all required state and federal required permits. Thank you.
Thanks, Ildiko. All right, so at this point, I'll wait another minute or so to see if any more questions come in. As I said, if you're in Teams, you can, enter your questions into the chat window or send an email to the project email or call 860-944-1111 and leave a voicemail. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, you will be able to see the links to the project email and the project website right below the video if you click on show more. And again, at the conclusion of the comment period, a report of meeting will be drafted for the presentation that will include all the questions and answers during the meeting and also any questions that came in during that comment period. All right, if there are no more questions, that concludes our virtual public information meeting tonight. I wanted to thank everyone for attending and for your participation in tonight's virtual meeting. You know, we appreciate everyone's time and input and, you know, the questions that were asked. And I wanted to also thank again the project team here behind the scenes with CHA, the DOT, and also Mott McDonald and VN engineers for helping out tonight. And as I said previously, we will be monitoring the phone and project email address during the comment period, which again is through February 15th. I don't know if we have posted a link to the project website in the chat window, but I can do that before we leave tonight, just so that you all have that. All right, I just added the project website to the chat, so you will all have access to that. Thank you again, everyone, and I hope you all have a great night.